Howdy, Foo here, and oh, it's been so long since I've talked to each and one of your beautiful faces. Oh, I love you. I just want to give you a hug and just want to come here.
Okay, well, Fu, I mean, as much as I'm glad to see them again, we actually have a video to get to, and today's topic is just a general hero guide. Basically, we're going to go over the role, maybe a build for each hero, what it can do, what its strengths and weaknesses are, and we're just going to go through each hero. This is not meant to be a specific guide, it's just
Yeah, and we're gonna do it
overall.
really, really fast
Really
because we have a
fast.
15-minute time limit. Thank you, YouTube. Anyway, first hero for Terran is the Marine. Marine is an infantry that is ranged with high DPS. Thing with Marine is an insane DPS at 15, but it's really squishy. Early game, it can be countered by almost any other laning opponent, but late game it gets a lot better because of its farm and its insane DPS. Early on against Terran and Zerg, you want to go Grenade with range. At level 2 grenade, you won't need another level of grenade to kill creeps, so I would advise against it, except maybe against Zergs you can kill Hydralisks, and you want to get Stim. Level 7, always, always, always get Call in Marines, use it to farm, and port every time it's off cooldown and you don't have energy.
Okay. Moving on, we have the Medic Hero. Medic Hero is the Terran gank hero. It has 2 stuns, it has the ability to heal itself, and it has a really nice poke early game for Irradiate. Now, Medic early game is really good because if you get Irradiate first, then you can poke pretty much any hero off your lane. The other powers are somewhat situational, but usually you'll want to stun, or if you're in big trouble, you want to heal. Now, late game and mid game, your focus is going to be on just supporting your allies, not necessarily with heal, but with well-timed restorations to bring all their health back, or with, sedates to help them stun and kill heroes. The major weakness of Medic is that it's kind of squishy, but really, it's not that squishy compared to other heroes.
It's really not. Next, we have a hero that really is squishy, the Reaper. The Reaper is one of my favorite heroes. It's really, really fast, has a lot of damage. It's really, really squishy. It's great for ganks. It's good for backdoors, though it can be cleaned up pretty easily. Early on, against Terran and Zerg, kind of like Marine, you want to go for D8 charge to kill the creeps. At level 5, without getting the third upgrade of D8, you can one-shot Marines, but you need level 2 D8 to one-shot Zerglings. Other than that, you want to go for Gas Mask and Speed. It's pretty situational. Getting Berserk early can pay off, but it's also very risky. Like I said before, the biggest strengths of Reaper is its insane DPS. It's pretty good at backdooring, but it's just really easy to kill. Great tip for Reaper late game. Always, always, always have what's the defensive maintenance.
Yeah, very useful.
See our item guide.
Okay. Next we have the SCV hero. The SCV hero is the Terran's Builder. Now, it's slightly tankier than the Probe, but the major problem with it is that all of its abilities are focused on building turrets, which is great when it comes to defense and setting up critter farms, but really, 3 turret abilities, you're not going to be able to do much with the abilities themselves. Now, SCV, if you combine it with, say, Domination or Lockdown from the item store, then it becomes very dangerous, and that's what I suggest you do. Go back, get Domination as fast as possible, and start massing up an army. Alternatively, you'll usually want to be crittering, but I would still say to get Domination, Yamato, Lockdown, and then start massing up your battle cruisers, because 6 battle cruisers, 6 Yamatos, very, very powerful. Now, late game, like all builders, your whole focus is just going to be on defending the base. Your major weaknesses are you're not that mobile, and you're kind of squishy. But again, you're about as squishy as the medic. It's just you don't have stuns to save you if you get caught out in the open. So next, I will also go over the Vulture hero, my personal favorite
Yep.
Terran hero. The
String sometimes gets frisky with its exhaust pipes.
Yeah, we'll not go into that, Foo. But the Vulture hero is the only other Terran hero that's as fast as Reaper. It has a fair bit more tankiness than Reaper, which means it can actually go into more dangerous combat situations. It doesn't do quite the same amount of damage, but if microed correctly, it is ridiculously hard to kill, and it does a lot of damage by itself. Now, what I would suggest for Vulture is to go speed frag early game with a level of jump. The level of jump lets you escape from pretty much any early game gang situation, and the speed in frag lets you catch or run away from pretty much anyone. You do a lot of damage, so don't be... The whole idea with Vulture is just to be very, very aggressive. Now, this changes late game because your DPS still is not that impressive, and people will start carrying stuns. So despite your speed, if they get you with a stun, you'll be just as dead as other heroes. So then you'll want to be a little more defensive-minded, but you can still go after very weak heroes and kill them off pretty easily. So next...
Now it's time for my used car salesman impersonation as I'm trying to sell the Siege Tank as a decent hero.
It is.
The Siege Tank, despite its low gas mileage, it is, pretty good because it won't be using much gas when it's parked, which is when it's most effective in most stages of the game.
Yeah.
But seriously, Siege Tank is a hero with very high stats. It starts off with 7 range, good DPS, and it's pretty tanky. But overall, it's just kind of vanilla. Its abilities aren't that good. Siege mode, it's really easy to kill.
Yeah.
But here, most people don't play it quite right. Siege mode shouldn't be your end-all, be-all, and you will always want to try to be in XP range to get XP. It's really hard to use, but one thing it's good at is surprise artillery barrages. If you're in a good position at a good time, you can make a lane a lot harder to win, stop pushes, and you can also get a gank. A backdoor, you can kind of insta-kill a building, but overall, Siege Tank's kind of a weak hero.
The things to really remember are just stay unsieged as much as possible, and you should be, decent. Not great, but decent.
Next, we have Banshee, a hero that I've had a lot of fun with. Some builds for Banshee. It's very situational, but a lot of it you do want to get the cluster warheads and cloak. Cloak kind of just to be annoying because you can't really do anything else. Until they get detection, you will be able to win the lane that way, but with Banshee, your whole goal is to be unkillable and use that abilities to build up a massive army of scouts, wraiths, or mutas. Because that's where it's really strongest. It's very hard to kill with its great best ability, in my opinion, suppression drones, which is a great mischance to it for enemies in the cloud, and it also has a dodge chance, which makes it very hard to kill. Build up a giant army, use it to defend, use it to backdoor, use it to gank, always good. Also, make sure to use your items. For Terran, the lockdown is especially good for this hero, but it doesn't have very much base energy, keep that in mind. It's strong at building a dominant army, and it's weak pretty much everywhere else.
And next we have Thor, the Terran tank unit. What do you feel about this one, Fu?
I feel like Thor is kind of a strong hero. It's very good at taking damage. It's a good tank in that regard, but the problem is it just doesn't really do anything. It's like a mosquito made of steel. It's just kind of annoying.
I mean, at least the Banshee has the ability to mass up an army and stop being just a mosquito, but the Thor is generally the last priority in any fight. I believe, as Lux said in a thread once, first you prioritize nuking your own base over actually going and killing the enemy Thor, because it just does so little in any fight.
Well, I will say that its stun does a good bit of damage early on, but it starts to titters all spell damage off, titters off later late game. And with Stop, it's decently mobile. Its damage overall isn't the worst.
Yeah.
It's got a really good air attack, but it doesn't do splash damage, so it's only a single target.
And
there's not much to say. It's just kind
very
of vanilla.
Okay. Next we have the Marauder hero, which is one of my a Terran hero I can really stand to play at least. It's very good early game because it's got 6 range. The DPS isn't great, but it's pretty tanky, so you can generally harass a lot of people off the lane, especially if you go concussive, and then it's kind of a race matchup. If you're against Terran or Zerg, I would suggest you go explosive barrels because they're so underutilized. They give you so much farm if you place them in the right spots and explode them. And Marauder doesn't get much farm otherwise. You kind of need them. Against Toss, though, you're obviously going to be going concussive shells, kinetic foam, because really anything else that early in the game isn't going to work out too well for you.
Barrels are the Terran observer.
Barrel, very, very much so.
But also, I'll cut in to say that I sometimes it's not a bad idea to go stem
Stem
concussive
concussive
cell.
cell works too. It just depends on how fast you're willing to get your regen and how often you're willing to back.
Yeah, it depends the hero matchup too.
Okay.
Continue.
Late game, you'll generally want to combo it with somebody else just because despite the fact that you think slow would guarantee you a lot of kills, good players are just going to stun you and then leave. So if you combine up with a medic, that's an especially good combination because you both have stuns and slows. You can just basically ruin anyone's day. You should always be carrying Psi Disruptor with you because that's really good for Marauder. And the other items are really up to you, but since you're tanky, just remember that when you look at the items you should buy. So